So as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about, now that we've looked through the stats of the entire housing market, let's dive a little deeper into, let's talk about first time home buyers, right? I'll touch on that a little bit. With this type of market, what did we say the average interest rate was? The national interest rate fixed FHA loan is 5.81%. FHA loans 2 years ago were 2.7%. So you got in a little late. Fixed 30-year mortgage with a 6.71 APR. Not that great, but it's always a good time to buy. People think it's a cliche and an agent is just trying to sell you something, so they say, oh, it's always a good time to buy. No, it is, because one, you don't know how high the inflation is going to rise. You really don't know how high things are going to rise. So when we say it's a good time to buy, it's because you may be looking at 5.8% as, oh man, this is too high. But what if it goes higher to 7? It is very well capable of going higher if inflation keeps rising. The Fed is going to try to adjust that so the economy doesn't go haywire, right? However, if you buy now and the interest rate does drop, you refinance your loan. You may not have enough equity on the house, but you're going to drop your payment. So if you're trying to buy and you have the down payment, you have good credit, make a move. Don't wait on the market, because if the interest rates go up, you got in on a good deal. When they go down, you refinance. That's just my advice. But as a first-time home buyer, work on your credit score. Tip number one I'll give you, work on your credit score. And Fannie Mae put out a study in 2022 saying the average credit score for first-time home buyers was 746, right? So I would say 680 or 700, you can't get in the house, but especially in this type of market, get it over the 700. So national average for first-time home buyers, 746. The national average for all home buyers is 754. So that's kind of where you want your score to be. Mid 700s, 800 is perfect, right? Find a good agent. What do I mean by find a good agent? Now, with the market being what it is and houses are taking longer to sell, if you get a good agent that can negotiate, they can drop the price for you. They can get seller concessions where the seller, a lot of things that come in a seller concession. Some can be new appliances. Some can be help with the closing costs. A lot of things, sellers make deals now. A lot of seller concessions can happen with down payment, all kinds of things, if you get a good agent that can negotiate, right? Second, and you want an agent that's going to do the work, to help you find the best home. Because as we saw, somehow the number of homes in some areas are dropping. So the inventory level is not as great. Sometimes inventory is higher, right? Depending on the market. You just want somebody that can do the research and look and search and that's connected, that can help you get something nice, right? Also, some mistake that some buyers make, they want to go, even sellers, they want to go to the biggest agent, the big name agent. It's almost like, I give this sports analogy. Remember Tim Grover that trained Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan, for a long while, never allowed Tim Grover to train any other player. So even though he's a personal trainer and that's his business, Jordan compensated him so much that he wasn't allowed to train anybody else. Later on in Jordan's career, he became more lenient and allowed Tim Grover, and Tim Grover said this himself, it's not about allowing, it's like I'm paying you enough where you don't need to train anybody else. How much do you need me to pay you so you don't train anybody else? You can focus on me all the way through. But later on in his career, I think it was Charles Barkley and possibly a Kobe Bryant, one or two other players, and Scottie Pippen, some of the Bulls teammates, Jordan finally let Tim Grover work with him, right? However, when things heated up, like playoffs or something came up, Tim Grover said Jordan shut it down to where he was a singular focus. That is what you're dealing with when you are dealing with a high-performing agent, super high-performing agent. How much individual time are they going to give you? I know they got teams, some of them, but now you're working with team members, but it's like also when you go to a big law firm, right? Here in DC, I think the Cochran firm is big. You got certain big law firms. Do you really think you're going to get, well, rest in peace now, but Johnny Cochran to represent you, even though his law firm is representing you, it's some other lawyer, right? He may oversee the case based on how big it is, but is he going to be hands-on? That's the thing about a super busy agent if you're a first-time home buyer. Because just the flat-out truth, agents don't necessarily like working with buyers as much as they do like working with sellers. Because with buyers, it's time-consuming. And that's just a logical business decision. When you're working with a buyer and a seller, you're pretty much making similar, if not the same, amount of commission. But with the buyer, you got to go to 5, 6, 7, 10 different showings. With a seller, maybe the main appointment, 1 or 2 appointments with the seller, you place your sign there, and you got to do showings every weekend or so, right? But with a buyer, you may have to go out with that buyer 4 times a week until they make a decision. So a whole lot of driving, and sometimes it's not guaranteed. They may look at 10 houses and then say no. But if you're working with a seller, if you can hustle as a real estate agent, you can get that house sold with less work than it takes working with a buyer. So I say all that to say, if you get a top agent, they're focused more so on the selling aspect of their business. They do help some of their clients that they already have to sell properties, to buy properties, but it just makes more sense to go after the listing business. So find an agent that is hungry but not super busy, because if they're super busy, they may focus more on something else and not necessarily you, right? So that's just tips. Then find a lender. Once again, this is for my first-time home buyers. Get pre-qualified. As you see, the average monthly mortgage is up. Fewer houses are selling. Lenders are not taking that many chances. So get a lender, get pre-approved, get a dollar amount that they pre-approve you for, so that when you shop, a seller may consider accepting your offer because it makes sense, right? And also look for a primary lender, meaning the lender got their own money and they're not going to shop your loan out to somebody else. It just speeds up the process right now, especially as we read in some areas, some owners are still getting multiple offers. So you don't want to be that guy that can't really get to finance your loan. So get a good lender. All right.